When it comes to comic sets, both Marvel and DC have been incredibly lacking these past few years, with Marvel making set after set for increasingly mediocre movies, and DC, whose only non-Batman characters are either or trapped behind a $20 book. And reading is for nerds. So today, I've devised a CMF of 16 characters from across all branches of Marvel Comics, spread across almost a century's worth of media, to fill out the many missing gaps that we still have in our Marvel lineup, and to update a few outdated minifigures, as well as 2 bonus minifigures from the brand new Spider-Man movie, Across the Spiderverse. So, without further ado, let's get started. To start off our lineup, we have LEGO's favorite, everybody's favorite, Iron Man. Iron Man is based off of his classic armor, and as a result, features classic comic shading, which goes from his helmet all the way down to his legs. He reuses the Invincible Iron Man helmet, which, while overused, is absolutely what LEGO would use, and works just fine. This minifigure's accessories are 2 Power Blast pieces and 1x1 cylinders representing his flight jets. He also has a wrench accessory to fix his suits, as well as an alternate hairpiece. This minifigure has 2 face prints, a smirking expression, and a face print for certain comic arc. You can't have Tony Stark without his good friend, Steve Rogers. Steve features a new print for his head, torso, and helmet piece, which is just the standard Captain America helmet. He has his comically large wings, as well as comic shading on the helmet. For that matter, the torso has plenty of shading too. While it's not as noticeable as the Iron Man suit shading, it definitely is there. This minifigure has 2 very exaggerated faces, a big ol' smile, and a very angry facial expression. He also comes with his iconic shield. Shakespeare once said, "If thou art making classic Iron Man and classic Cap, one must also maketh classic Thor. To that, I say nay. 'Twould be vastly funnier to maketh LEGO Stark Odinson, the Iron Thor. If LEGO loveth Iron Man so much, let us give them Iron Man." So our final member of the big 3 is Stark Odinson. Why? Because I would rather draw another Iron Man than a Thor. So our third minifigure is Iron Thor. This minifigure once again uses the Invincible Iron Man helmet, and has new prints all over, with metallic orange and copper to show the lines throughout the suit. This minifigure doesn't have a new head, as most LEGO Iron Man suits do not have one. This minifigure features 2 accessories, a hammer, as well as a lightning bolt. You can't have a Marvel CMF without Spider-Man, so our next figure is, well, Superior Spider-Man. This version of Spider-Man isn't Peter Parker, it's actually Dr. Octavius, and his suit is vastly different to that of the standard Spider-Man design. His mask is a new design, with lenses designed to mimic the very sharp shading of the comic lenses. And the webbing goes down to the top of the torso and the arms, which feature new designs for the web shooters. The torso has a metallic design to define the muscles and no leg printing. This leg printing really isn't necessary for this character. His accessory is a printed web disc, as well as an arm attachment similar to LEGO's Iron Spider minifigures, as well as a laptop. The Marvel CMF was a chance for me to make characters LEGO has never really made before, such as the Fantastic Four. While I couldn't include all 4 in the CMF, I included 3 of them. The first of the 3 being Mr. Fantastic. I chose to make the suits blue and white, as that's a color combination that's lesser well known for these characters. He has muscle shading similar to that of Rebirth Superman, as well as dual molded arms and legs. He also uses the dog trainer hair in dark brown, has a potion accessory to represent science stuff, and a smirking facial expression. His alternate facial expression is a far more angry one, and also has a fist piece to represent his stretching powers. For our next minifigure of the 4 or 3, we have Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman. Sue is pretty similar to Reed, with her torso being a slight change of Reed's. The big difference is the transparent arm and leg, used to represent her invisibility powers. The torso and leg have a dot pattern to represent her fading as well. Sue has 2 facial expressions, a scared facial expression, as well as a smirking face. She also has 2 force field pieces as her accessory. For the last Fantastic Four member, we have Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. I chose to make Johnny's Human Torch look as I feel it's more interesting. This minifigure uses all sorts of reds, oranges, yellows, and even some copper to represent fire, as well as transparent arms, legs, and heads. This minifigure uses the Ghost Rider head as well for obvious reasons. Johnny has 2 accessories, being 2 flame pieces. While the Thing isn't in the CMF, he will be included alongside my other Fantastic Four minifigures, as well as other characters in the CMF designed by me in an upcoming Oscorp set, designed by Poison Bricks on Instagram. Be sure to follow her if you haven't. While we are getting a Kang in the upcoming Marvel CMF, we've never gotten a comic Kang, and as such, I felt he was appropriate to include. I actually have this minifigure in real life! Anyway, this minifigure features new prints from head to toe, and unfortunately I couldn't find a helmet that suits this character, so the print is done directly on the head. This minifigure has dual molded legs and a pattern running down his suit. He also has a brick-built gun as his accessory. Next, we have Carol Danvers, but not as Captain Marvel, as Miss Marvel. The title of Captain Marvel has not always belonged to Carol Danvers. It's belonged to many, many, many other characters. So, before Carol was Captain Marvel, she was Miss Marvel. This version of Carol actually has been one I've wanted to make for a while, so getting to make it in the CMF was a real treat. The minifigure uses the same hair as Sue Storm, as well as a mask which features some highlights to represent how light would reflect. This minifigure has her iconic S and sash, as well as dual molded arms and legs. For her alternate face, she has an angry expression and a power blast piece in orange. Seeing as we have Carol in the CMF, it only felt right to make KAMALA. I felt there were some better updates to make to the original version. For starters, her hair. I believe the Hermione hair in dark brown better suits the character. Second, mid-legs. I gave this character mid-legs to better represent her height. And lastly, I gave the minifigure normal, dual molded arms, as the last Miss Marvel had the stretchy arm piece. She also has a print on one of her arms to represent her bangle, as well as a fist piece to represent her embiggen powers. Her alternate face is... With Miss Marvel, I felt it was important to make the other two founding members of the Champions, and while we won't see the third for a while, our second founding member is Nova, Sam Alexander. While we've gotten Sam Alexander Nova technically, the figure was Sam based on... The figure for Sam was based on Richard Rider's costume because in Ultimate Spider-Man, well, the helmet's yellow, but you know, the costume's really this color. I mean, it's not right, but later on... Anyways, this minifigure uses the old Nova helmet in dark blue. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. This minifigure has new prints from torso to legs, and I'm very proud of how the shading on the torso turned out. He also has power blasts and cylinders, much like Iron Man, to represent his flight powers. His face is an angry expression, with a white band covering his eyes, and for his alternate face, he has a smirking expression. Seeing as the Marvel CMF this summer includes some X-Men characters, I thought it would be fitting to add some here. So our first X-Men member in the CMF is Jean Grey, the Dark Phoenix. I personally love Jean Grey, and I've always wanted a minifigure of her. Thankfully, LEGO made one, and you can get it too, for the low price of, Oh my god! This minifigure is based on her red Dark Phoenix costume, which I honestly prefer. The design has a sash similar to that of Carol, as well as dual molded arms and legs. She also has the same hair piece as the 2012 version, but a new face, with multiple different colors being used to represent the fiery effect of the Phoenix. For her alternate expression, she has a sinister smile. Next up, for the X-Men, we have Cyclops. While we've gotten a Cyclops before, this outfit is much better. This minifigure has new prints from head to toe, even having dual molded legs. His head is unfortunately not dual-sided, as that way you can remove the hair and give him the bald look of the last Cyclops minifigure. I'm also very happy with how the visor turned out, being comprised of both light and dark red to give the visor more depth. This minifigure has no accessories because I couldn't think of any to give him. For our last comic-based minifigure, we have Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde is a character I find fascinating and definitely was not made because I had the design lying around, no siree. Anyways, this minifigure is half a regular comic look and half trans purple. The reason for this is because I wanted a way to represent her phasing look, and I think this gets the job done. The pattern of purple used is similar to that of Sue Storm's phasing look. She also comes with a cutlass accessory and a smirking expression. Turning the head around, we can see a far angrier face, and her accessory is a pet dragon, Lockheed. The last two minifigures of the CMF are not comic-based. In fact, they might be why some of you are watching this video. These two characters are based on the phenomenal Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and while I didn't have the motivation to design a full CMF, I still wanted to make some figures off of this masterpiece of a film. The first of our two minifigures for this movie is Miles Morales. Through a combination of both Spider-Verse movies, Miles Morales has turned into the face of this new era of animation. The design for him is relatively simple, featuring some new prints, but I'm very proud of how some things look here, such as the pattern running from his torso to his legs, which if you look very closely, matches the pattern of the suit perfectly, as well as some black on black printing to represent the subtle designs running through Miles' suit. The mask also has some white aqua in the eyes in an effort to make the eyes look reflective, as well as a purple ring running through the red lenses. He also has a web as his accessory. Taking off the mask, we can see he has an alternate head using the Nokia hair. The head also has some lines at the top representing how his face is shaded in the movie. He also has a cell phone accessory and an angry expression with lightning coming out of his eyes. While this minifigure is simple, he was one of my favorites to design. And for our final Spider-Verse minifigure and figure of the CMF, we have Gwen Stacy. While Miles was my favorite character in the first Spider-Verse movie, Spider-Gwen was easily my favorite character in this movie. They really let Gwen come into her own this film, and seeing her struggle with her identity was very compelling. The minifigure uses the old style of hood, as I feel the new one just doesn't really work for Gwen, like at all. Her mask also has a sort of spray paint vibe that her costume does in the movie, using a dot pattern to showcase it. as well as the same pattern that Miles' lenses have, with the light aqua in the eyes. Her torso has a black-on-black print pattern, which can be seen in the movie. Gwen also has dual molded arms representing the webbing of her suit, as well as shoes. The shoes aren't printed like how LEGO would do them, but for once, I'm willing to forego LEGO accuracy for looks. Removing the hood, the figure has an alternate hood down piece, as well as a new print for her head, piercing and all. This face was probably one of my favorite likenesses I've ever done. I feel like it really captures her likeness. And for her alternate expression, she's a lot angrier, even perhaps a bit sad. Anyways, that's all for this video. This video was probably one of the most fun videos I've made in a while, and I hope you all enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. I hope to have a video on a variety of different things in the future, so be sure to look out for that. Also, check out my new channel, Snomcast. Snomcast is where I'll be posting a variety of content, specifically content with some of my friends, so look out for that. New video will be up there soon. Anyways, that's all for this video. I hope you have a marvelous day. Get it? Because, I mean, you know, it's like Marvel.